I'm all by my lonesome, except there's two of me. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hold on. Here it comes. All right, we are live. Mr. Bones.
What's up, man?
How are you?
Are you guys waiting on me?
No. I did go live, but right now you're just a disembodied voice.
Do I sound weird?
No. I just haven't switched you over to transition. Boom. All right. Here we are. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a 10-minute later than normal starting time. Well, there's really no normal starting time. Starting time is whenever we want it to be. I am very excited to begin talking about this week's episode, this last-minute live stream. We call it the last-minute live stream because, like, tomorrow the episode comes out, right? And we want to give people a chance to watch the show, right, before we spoil the hell out of everything.
I also like it because it rehashes me for, the next, we rehash it so I remember what's going on.
Yeah, I
need those refreshes sometimes.
Yeah.
It makes me rehype for the next.
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to refresh, and I rewatched it this morning. And I gotta say, I think I liked it better the second time around.
Okay, I wish I would have. I need to go back and watch it too tomorrow. Watch it and then.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I don't know if it was more or less interesting necessarily, but I absolutely loved it. As far as the second time around, I think it was a more interesting vibe. I don't know for sure.
There was just one thing I didn't like, and I'm sure you know what it will be.
Oh, I think I might have an idea, but I'm actually curious. I'm curious to see where it goes. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. We want to start talking with we're gonna now. In the past, what we've done with these types of shows is we've broken it down scene by scene and said this is what's gone on. But I think we want to break it down in this episode for sure, concept by concept. And there's a few concepts that I think that we saw the training montage, we saw Hera talking with the New Republic, and then we saw the Star War, right? And so that was interesting. And so I want to start off by saying something that I don't know if you'll find it controversial, but I think this may be the most controversial thing I could potentially say. Now, if Nev, our good friend Nev, was watching, he would have a conniption and he would probably break something. This episode was quite possibly the most Star Wars episode of the new series, of like all of the series.
I think this is the most Star Wars show we've gotten since. I mean, I'll say Mando season 2. I'll go back about that far. The last real Star Wars we got.
Yeah, Mando season 2 did a great job. Season 1 was awesome. It built it up. It introduced a lot of things. Season 2 made us all cry. Manly tears. But even if you're a feminine person, right, you probably cried manly tears because that was wow. But there's a few things that this show has done so far that I think we've seen a lot in OG Star Wars. We saw definitely a little bit in the prequel era. I'm not gonna look at the sequel era because I don't think we need to. but we see a ton of this concept stuff, or at least for me, what I think of as like true Star Wars in like the cartoons. I think
what I'm noticing is that he is. So remember when Force Awakens, they were like, it's good because it's fan service. It's a copy of A New Hope, and it was nothing like that. It was in no way was that the case.
No,
but I would apply these 3 episodes so far more to copying like the old ways, like straight up fan service. Like I'm watching them and I go, oh, that's a straight callback. It's almost like a mirror image of something I saw in the prequels and the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad about that. I'm not thinking, oh, they're recycling that, how lazy or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing it as fan service kind of. And he's doing it in the right way, I guess I want to say. So I think he's doing a good job at giving us fan service while at the same time, it's kind of like it comes full circle kind of moments at time.
Yeah.
Because like we're about to get into it here in a minute, but with like the training, there's a lot of A New Hope you see there. But then there's another episode where I feel like a lot of, I don't know, the prequels or something, right? So it goes episode by episode, which is interesting. But yeah, I definitely see that.
Let's jump into it then, and let's talk about the training. I mean, first and foremost, if you don't know, George Lucas got a lot of his inspiration from like samurai films, right? And this is just space samurai. It's like Days of Our Lives if it were space and samurai themed, right? Yep. It's a space opera with samurai, and this opening scene. First off, we get to see H-Wing in action, right? I thought this was pretty freaking dope.
I wasn't sure what they were doing at first. But yeah, he's looking like Grievous there training.
Yeah.
But I guess what they're doing is he's telling her commands and she's seeing how close she is to where she should be, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a test of, depending on her angles and everything, he's judging her.
Yeah.
Where she should be.
And so this was this really cool moment where it's like, all right, you've been training, you've been doing your thing, you've been, or you haven't been, but it was cool to see. It was really cool in my mind to see just all of it kind of work out and play out. You know, it was cool to see her in action. Now, to me, it was awesome, but then like, you know, H-Wing is like, look, you're garbage, right? You clearly haven't been practicing. And I
like this whole storyline, the little banter he does.
I do too. So this is David Tennant, and I freaking love his sass, right?
Same.
I say that I would if this is kind of a tangent, and not kind of, it's totally a tangent, but like if you were to have a character, if you were to have the Force, or if you would have like a companion in a Star Wars universe, what would it be? If you'd fly a ship, you know, like I don't care if I'm on a ship, I don't care if I have the Force, I just want a really sassy droid, you know. But
and like an alien creature that like a bodyguard.
Yeah, I say that, but at the same time, I have like 2 very sassy daughters, and I'm like, maybe I don't want that. I don't know, because I already have that, and or maybe that's what it is, right? But I love his timing, because in one of the things that Star Wars is, it's humorous. It's not always like over the top hilarious, but it's fun, it's lighthearted. And David Tennant
it's done in a very good way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like, hey, look at me, slapstick funny.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think they do that in some Star Wars. Even George Lucas has done it, right? And it sticks out too much. But
it does.
It's done right. They do a great job where it's a natural flow. You know, like think of, you know, Empire Strikes Back, where, you know, Han Solo's getting sick as 3PO.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just little things like that. And, you know, there's some things from Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. I mean, not everyone loves the Ewoks. They don't bother me, but they do it very well. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm right there, and I 100% agree, because it's done effectively, and I will say, like, this whole training montage, it's really fascinating, and then you actually get to see, after H-Wang and his training is like, hey, you did okay, but clearly you haven't been practicing, and so Ahsoka steps in and says, okay, let's try this, right? And she gives Sabine the faceplate, and it was neat to see, again, another kind of callback to previous Star Wars. I mean, this is Obi-Wan and Luke, right? Very similar, right?
Blatant callback.
Oh yeah, but it's done in a very Ahsoka style, and so it doesn't feel out of place, and that's what I love. That's what I really appreciated about this. But then it's almost, you've done this, right, Bones? I mean, you've blindfolded yourself, and you've tried to, like, we've all done this. This isn't like a unique thing, right? I mean, great.
I thought the same thing. It might have been this episode too, where she's sitting there trying to grab the cup.
Yes.
And I've done that. I still do that sometimes.
Who doesn't do that?
Bored or something. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was so cool. I really appreciated, like, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I mean, because I've done that.
And she didn't, and nothing moved. So
yeah,
we related even more.
Exactly. I totally feel that episode. I was like, yes, 100%. But it was. I thought it was really interesting. Now, a lot of people are on the fence here. Will Sabine have the Force, or will she not? And the way that Ahsoka describes this, it makes me think that it's very possible that she might become Force sensitive. She's just not talented with the Force.
So I think she'll become very lightly, right? She's not going to be OP.
Yeah.
I don't think they probably don't have huge plans for Sabine. I don't think she's going to be Ahsoka level.
No.
Even in the story, right?
Yeah.
I would look at her as being like a badass technical lightsaber person eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe not a lot of Force powers, but she's a badass. She can use enough Force to help her in her, style of fighting, maybe.
Yeah. And that's what I think too. I'm right
like
there.
Inquisitor. You don't see an Inquisitor do too many Force powers, right? They're kind of like a low level Force user. But they're very efficient in their lightsaber techniques and everything.
Yeah. Now I will say though, I don't think that Sabine will be, or at least should be, on the level of an Inquisitor. I think she should be below that, but I think what you're saying is, like, if she gets the Force, she should use it as a way to heighten the things that she's already good at, right? And that's what I think that we're going to see. We're not going to see Sabine be super bad as a Force user, but I think that she's going to become a much stronger Mandalorian. That's where I think it's going to go.
That's a better idea, like a balanced Mandalorian where she can use a lightsaber. How often do you see a lightsaber wielding Mandalorian?
Yeah.
So that's true.
I mean, you see him with swords and stuff, but not often.
Is that whose lightsaber is that? Is that Ezra's lightsaber that she has?
So yeah. So in episode 2, they actually brought that up. She's like, "That's Ezra's lightsaber," and H-Wang was like, "Look, it was, but you've made modifications, and now it's yours." And I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because with the Darksaber, we saw the Mando wasn't able to, like, wield it as effectively as someone else could have, right?
Right.
And I do think that I do think that that's what it's going to be. I think that the Kyber in Ezra's saber has attuned to Sabine, right?
Right.
Now I do think that we'll get Ezra, and when we get Ezra, I think he'll have his own saber or some kind of thing, brass saber knuckles. I don't have any idea, nunchucks. But I feel like if he had nunchucks, that one of them would have to be the edge of the saber, and by holding it, it would like cut his hand off. So I don't know. But there were two things in this whole back and forth that I think stood out to me. Like, one, you have Wang, Hugh Wang, talking about, he's like, yeah, she's not as good, and Ahsoka's like, or Sabine's like, yeah, Hugh Wang told me I was terrible, and Ahsoka's like, why would you say that to her, right? And I thought that was kind of a funny back and forth, but it points out that she is not up to Jedi standards, and he actually says that. He says, look, in a traditional Jedi, she would not be acceptable. The Jedi wouldn't have kept her, and Ahsoka's response is, I don't need her to be a Jedi, I need her to be Ahsoka. And remember, when the Jedi wouldn't have kept her, look what happened to the Jedi. So maybe we need to branch out. I think that might be foreshadowing, of a new sect of Force users.
Well, they've been wanting to push the gray Jedi for a long time. The unaligned Force user that's not necessarily a Sith or a Jedi. They've been wanting to go that route for a long time.
Yeah. Sure. And I think that we're going to see that because Ezra had his moments of darkness. He obviously went back and forth. Ultimately, and I saw some reviews on this, and I actually went back and looked at some of the stuff in season 4. Whenever the Rebels ended, Ezra was white Jedi. He was straight up a Jedi. No dark side, nothing. But Sabine has still been Ahsoka has been fighting that light versus dark. Who am I? What is my role? And I think one of the reasons why we're getting such a subdued Ahsoka is that she's still not sure what her role is.
Yeah, and she's proven that with the whole Sabine relationship and everything. I think she's starting to figure it out. She's trying to right her wrongs, but we're seeing the beginning of that, right? So she doesn't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
So
and I think you're right.
We're all finding out together, right, with her as the story goes, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think what we're seeing is more of her developing. So let's move on to the next.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go, I have one thing to say. And I'll bring this up here later on with another thing. But you see Dave Filoni correcting some wrongs that the sequels did with some things.
Oh, fill me in.
One of the biggest complaints, not necessarily lore-wise, okay, but technicalities. Because one of the biggest complaints with Rey was lack of training, yet she could do everything. Where we saw extensive, like half the episode was training Sabine. That was already more than we ever saw in the sequels, ever.
Yeah,
and I think that's showing that Filoni realizes that he's listening, and that's just a little tidbit right there to notice. Like, right when I saw how much time they spent on that, I was like, that's Filoni showing, that he's not making those same mistakes. And I'll mention another thing later on that goes on that too. That's all I wanted to say about that.
No, and I think that's a good point. Like, people have talked about how this is an issue. Like, oh, it's like she's training. Why do they spend so much time? Because they don't want to just jump into this. They're taking their time with this, and I think that it's done really well. Now let's go into this, and on the screen, I got to bring this up. This was a very short back and forth, but I think that it was very telling. This moment with Hera, right? We have Hera doing her thing, and she's on Home 1, right? She's on Akbar's ship, and they're like, hey, come in, we've got the council, right? We've got the senators from the New Republic. Excellent. And who do we see? We see Mon Mothma, but we see this giant D-bag. And by D-bag, I mean dirtbag. I don't know any other, D that would fit there, but I'm sure that many other D's would fit there because this guy's a jerk. Siono, I'm gonna butcher his name. He's Kaz's dad from Star Wars Resistance.
Okay, I heard that, yeah.
And he is a freaking jerk. Like
another sequel reference, by the way. So
yeah,
that's another. Everyone quit expecting it not to happen.
Because
it's going straight to the sequel.
It really is. I mean, there might be changes that are made, but like there's no way that it's not. Senator Ziono is the character. You've got Senator Ziono, Senator Mawood, Senator Rodrigo, which I guess is a great name for so we've got them with Hera and Hera's crew, right? And they're all there with Mon Mothma. They're talking, they're discussing, and Hera drops it. She said, "Look, we have reason to believe that Thrawn's back," and this guy is like, "Ugh, this again, Thrawn." Oh my gosh, I was like, "What a jerk." I was super mad. Oh man, I got so angry with him. I was like, what kind of a like?
Do you think that these guys might be kind of undercover Imperial people? I kind of got that feeling. Maybe one, maybe two of them.
So maybe
even three.
Here's the thing. We know that Mon Mothma, one of the first things that she did was to kind of just completely get rid of the military. She's like, we're not going to do it. We're going to go back to like independent systems protecting themselves, and we're just going to be the central government and a well-regulated militia for each individual planet. And we get this right, but I think the vibe is that they're not imperial, but they're definitely capitalists in the sense that they're waiting to see what happens. And
don't they mention that? Like you waited to see who won before you pretty much picked a side.
I loved that. That was like I know that people are like, oh, well, Ahsoka doesn't give a lot of great acting. And I'm like, look, she's doing fine for who she is at the moment, right? There's a few subtle things that I see changing in the Ahsoka character. But Hera, this actress, is killing it. Oh my gosh. Like that.
Isn't she Ewan McGregor's wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I mean, because that if she were to come home and Ewan was like, oh, so that's where you went with that, that she wouldn't live that down. And Ewan McGregor's daughter was she was in Kenobi, right? She was one of the street urchins when he went to go pick up Leia, like just a cameo. And then McGregor's uncle, godfather or something was Wedge Antilles.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Right? And so
it's strange in itself.
Right?
How old was he whenever Star Wars came out?
Oh, he would have been like pretty young, super young.
Yeah.
But we have this back and forth, and that moment where she's like, did you serve in the war? And he kind of looks away and he's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, oh, so you just waited to see who came out on top? I'm like, oh, who, what? And like, I know that there's moments that are people like, this is bad writing. And there are some. I don't even want to say that because I can't picture a moment that is like, the dialogue is bad. I think the dialogue in modern Star Wars with Andor, with this, I think a lot of it has been really successfully written, really exceptionally written. But this line is so powerful.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, and then, when she's like, I lost friends, people who are like family, I just realized what she means. She's talking about Kanan. She's talking about her baby daddy. Like, yep. It just hit me that that's what she meant by that. I was like, who did she lose? It was like family, like the whole. And they're like, oh, Kanan.
Also, was it before or after the scene where we see their son?
It was after this scene. Yeah. It was right after this scene. She walks out. Mon Mothma is like, give me a minute to confer with my senators. And, she's going to come back with a little, I don't know. If they're in the room, Mon Mothma's going to come back and be like, oh, hey, if we see her at all. Welcome, Chunky Chunko, over on YouTube. But like, if we see her at all, it's gonna be, she'll come back with like the senators, and they'll be like, "Oh, we thought of it would go a different way." But if like Mon Mothma is there with, just Hera, she's gonna get salty. She's gonna let her guard down and be like, "Man, that guy's a D-bag. I don't care for him at all." Like, I really think that's what we should see, a salty Mon Mothma. Right.
Well, I'm sure we'll see more interactions like that, except it goes a little. I don't know. We'll see more of her going off on the council. I'm sure. That won't be the last time we see that.
Yeah. Exo over on Twitch points out that baby daddies are family. Right. Genetically. That's right. Familially, there's a lot of ways that baby daddies are family. Yeah. So. I agree. So yeah, but then we do step out and we see Jason. Like, I thought it would have been cool that they just mention Jason, that it's not like a thing, but they show him, right? He appears.
And I'm not as biased on Rebels as a lot of people. I've watched some of them, but not all of it. I thought I was looking at the kid and I go, is her and Ezra together? Because doesn't the kid look more like Ezra than Kanan?
It's the hair.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you got to remember, like, Kanan always had it back in that man bun before man buns were in style. Case in point, man buns shouldn't be. I'm sorry, man, but they shouldn't. And I'm just saying that because I'm bald, and if I had a hair, I would be rocking a man bun. You're totally good.
I'll donate you a wig next time I come.
All right. Next time you cut the hair will go here. I just need to shave this off and glue it on here. Little pieces at a time. Yeah, this guy, I did not care for him. I was very frustrated by this guy. I don't know, like this, but this scene was really interesting. But there's one moment that kind of solidifies this. When he points out, he says, look, it's convenient that you're saying Thrawn's back, that you're going to, you want some money for you to go search again, and that tells me that there was a previous search sponsored by the New Republic, right?
Yeah.
And so here we go. Now
he says that she thinks that's just her wanting to go find her friend, and they all think he's dead pretty much. And I mean, most people would think, okay, come on now, he probably is dead, but we know that he probably isn't as a viewer. But,
sure,
he is a dick, but I just still think I can see where he's coming from. But
still. I mean, if I were a voting person and like some crazy general was like, look, I'm a military veteran and I've had all these things, I want money to go search for this potential bad guy, I'd be like, okay, maybe not, I don't know. But like, as a fan, I'm like, oh, you're a douchebag, oh, bad person. like
what's this guy know?
Yeah, like, what does he know? He doesn't know anything. We've seen the trailers. This guy hasn't even seen the trailer for his own show. Come on. So yeah, I can understand. That's definitely where I'm at as a fan.
I agree with you for sure. I'm just saying, I guess if you're putting yourself in the world, I can see where he's coming from.
Now, I will say, I don't think that he's going to have, I don't think he's going to be Imperial. I don't know why I said it that way. I don't think he's going to be Imperial. I do think that there's just enough people, especially from richer planets, who didn't see the war. This guy's from Hosnian Prime, and they didn't see anything. You know, they didn't see war. And so they're not going to spend money because their people don't care about it. And so I see a lot of that stuff coming. You know, I think we're going to see more of this douchebaggery from this senator and maybe even senators like him. Clearly, he's going to be wrong, but that leads me to my first prediction. Are you ready for this? I think somehow we're going to see Zeb Aurelius in this show.
Well, I thought that would be a given, you know, because
I thought so too.
It on a Mando. And Mando, like at the very end, wasn't it? Or no, he just popped up.
He popped up in one of the episodes when Mando's looking for a head, right?
So he's just hanging out helping the Republic, I guess.
Yeah,
you know, it looked like a freelance kind of Republic kind of guy.
Yeah, so he's part of the if I understand correctly, and this is if you look at the book Bloodlines, you have what Mon Mothma has done, and she's completely decimated the war apparatus, right? There is no more military industrial complex per se. You have like some fleets being designed and created, but shortly after some events go down, Leia Organa becomes outed as Darth Vader's daughter, and people freak. People are like, what? He's the murderer, right? How do we trust her, right? She's connected with the family, right? It's
and as a person in the world, I can see where they're coming from. But as a fan, it's like, oh, shut up, people.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, shut up. Amazing. Yeah, in the world, you're like, this is the Skywalker crime family, right? It just is. And to be honest, if we're gonna put on our tinfoil hats, let's just go all in, right? But like afterwards, Leia's like, look, we need something, right? We need something to protect from the Imperial Remnant, a few of the other things, which is we know the Imperial Remnant's out there because of what we saw from Moff Gideon. And so she builds the Resistance, right? The Resistance is essentially the New Republic's army, their fleet, right?
So, plot twist, Ahsoka finds out about this from the future and goes and kills Leia. Possibly. But none of that ever happens.
And it's all wrong. Yes. It is all Leia's fault. She's the chosen one after all, if we saw Kenobi, right? Okay. So anything, I don't know. Do you feel like anything before we move on to the Star War, right?
No. That was just, it was a short, interesting scene, but this episode was packed with a lot of interesting things. But no, I think that's about it. I think we covered it all.
So I think now it's time for us to talk about space whales. So I will say one of the things, and this is one thing that I think a lot of people who are not fans of Star Wars may be pulled out, right? Because if you've watched the Clone Wars, then you know that Ahsoka Tano was founded by oh crap, his name totally just escaped me as I'm saying this. Who was it? Is not Ki-Adi-Mundi. No, it was not face guy with the Plo Koon, yes, Plo Koon. And in a number, thank you, Ares Skirata points out, it was Plo Koon, right? So Ahsoka was found by Plo Koon. She was brought to the Jedi Temple, right? In a number of episodes, maybe at least one, I don't know, but it sounds better if I say a number of episodes. So in a number of episodes, there are times when Jedi exit their vehicle in space to do battle, right? Now, granted, that's cartoons, but this was like an awesome moment for me when she stepped out and she's like, all right, I'm gonna go take care of some business. And Sabine's like, what do you mean? And she just goes out in this like spacesuit and ignites her lightsabers. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But like we've seen it before in certain moments within Star Wars. This isn't new to Star Wars. It's actually very common, or at least common enough in Star Wars, right?
And to kind of give people listening what we're talking about, like eventually what's going on? They're in space, the Inquisitors come up behind them. I don't know what they're going. What are they trying to do?
Kill them.
What are they going for?
Just destroy them.
I'm setting up the scene before she jumps out.
So what happens is they're traveling to this planet where the Purrgil live and roam, right? It's like space Nebraska.
Why were they going there?
Because that's the last place the HK droid registered, right? When Sabine was like messing with his head, like that was the last place that he registered, and they're like, oh well, we're gonna go there.
And so they're on their way, and they spot a like a multi-grav thing that can take them to another galaxy.
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
Right? It has enough firepower to do that outside this Purgs thing. So then the Inquisitors come behind them, right? And they
yes.
big long chase in the space, and they're losing or whatever. Okay, is there another callback to A New Hope? Because she goes to the turret, and they kind of have a little Millennium Falcon moment from
yes. So I will say this. That is the one thing about this. That was maybe one of the things, but that is the biggest letdown moment. And it wasn't even a letdown. So Ahsoka and Sabine, they're under attack. They get into the groove. And so finally Ahsoka realizes that she's trying to command Sabine to fight her way, and it's not working, right? And so Ahsoka says, Sabine, what do you need? And so Sabine kind of takes charge and is like, hey, this is what's going on with tracking. This is how I'll do it. She says it in so many words, obviously. But you have this moment where she's like, she knocks out 2 ships, right? Now, it's cool on one point because Ahsoka just realizes, hey, maybe I need to take a different approach, which I think this is one of those subtle turning points for Ahsoka and Sabine's relationship. Okay? I think from here on out, things are going to go a little smoother for the two, right? Now, at the same time, when they work together, Sabine kills 2 people, right? And Ahsoka says something like, I knew you could do it, or something positive and like reassuring. But what she should have said was, don't get cocky. I mean, that would have been the perfect callback. I mean, you want fan service. That would have been fan service right there. Don't get cocky, kid. Or just don't get cocky, right? That would have been perfect. But, like I can see she's trying to be nurturing and loving in a battle or whatever. But,
And Filoni probably thought he didn't want to get too fan servicey, I guess. But I agree with you. That would have been perfect.
It would have been. It would have been perfect. And I think that's why he didn't do it, is because it would have been a little too fan servicey. Taking the direct line from the film. but no, so they're fighting. They're out in the middle, and these starships aren't doing anything. But they cross into this sector where the hyperring is being built, or the hyperdrive ring is being built, I
mean, I think like the Night Sister lady's on the hyperdrive ring.
She is.
They do kind of shoot at him a little bit, right? I think from the hyperdrive ring. I think. And then there's this thing where they go off the radar, and then they can't find him for a couple minutes, and then the Inquisitors find him again, and I think that's when she goes out to the ship.
Yes. So yeah.
Maybe they don't have power or something. I can't remember.
So what happens is the squadron can't bring them down, but they get into the range of the ship, Morgan Elsbeth's ship, and Morgan Elsbeth is able to disable the ship. Now she doesn't like bring him down. She doesn't kill him. But she disables them to a point where they don't appear on scanners anymore.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the things that I think is. And that's where you see Ahsoka going out on the wing, because the ship's disabled. Sabine has to kind of bring it back onto online, I guess, and it's kind of where it goes. But I think that this is like I said, this is an interesting back and forth. So it'll be. I just like seeing Ahsoka go out there and dance on the wings, you know.
You're gonna hate me. I didn't like that part.
Oh,
I thought it took me out of it. I thought it kind of looked weird.
Now
I understand. Now I want to say that, and this will go back to Filoni did it right, and I'll talk about that in just a second. He made it to where it makes sense, and I get that it can be done. I get that it's in the lore. It's happened many times.
Mm-hmm.
Even way before Disney. I get that. So I'm not hating on it. I just thought it kind of looks silly to me. She's kind of floating around, or not floating around. When she does a flip, she's going like, and maybe that's how it would look out there. I don't know. And I get that you would have to be an absolute badass to even be able to, go at a normal pace out in space. So I get that. And it shows how great she is. I don't know, man. It just kind of looked cheesy to me. I think maybe if it could have been filmed differently for me, I don't know. But I wasn't expecting it. Came out of nowhere, and I just thought it was. I think it looked weirder in live action than if it was in cartoon form. Maybe it looks better.
All right, and that makes sense. I mean, it could. I mean,
a real reason for why I hated it. But it just looked really weird to me. It really I really was enjoying it, and then that happened, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" But and to go on top of that real quick, people are kind of. Comparing that to the Leia sequel,
yes.
Superman.
Yes.
But I've seen people pointing out once again. Filoni is somewhat fixing those scenes. I don't know why you're going back and recreating them, but because there was a point where, like, after it was all said and done, she was floating in space and she couldn't do anything.
Yeah, and she couldn't use the Force to pull her back in. Right.
So no matter how badass she was, she couldn't fly around in space with the Force.
Yeah.
And so he did a few things that kind of corrected what everyone had a complaint with. That was like probably the second biggest complaint of a scene in the sequels was that one. And he kind of was like, I showed them how to do it. Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is a show that's kind of showing them like, hey, this is how you do it. Like, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It seems like he's just doing things and putting them there to show Disney, like, hey, this is how you do it, or I don't know. But it kind of just seems like he's using this as like a resume or something for something. I don't know. Even though he's already got a movie that leads up to. I don't know. But it's me thinking.
So let's take a small tangent. Run DMV, who is in the chat, has brought up I don't know if you've heard this. So you've got Balin and you've got Balin Shin and Shin Hati, or no, Balin Greyjoy and Shin. Oh damn it, I forget their names.
Is it great? I think
it's
Balin
Scroll and Shin Hati. Balin Greyjoy is in the Game of Thrones. But Balin and Shin, and I think it's Skull and Hati, are actually Norse wolves. In wolves in Norse mythology, and one wolf chases the sun, chases the light, and the other one chases the dark. And I think it is Skull that chases the light and Hati that chases the dark. It might be reversed, but from what I understand is Skull is still influenced by the light, whereas Hati is still definitely influenced by the dark. Right, whereas Ahsoka is the balance between them. Right now, Marok, or as I like to call him, Marmaduke, is also a wolf of legend. He's actually a werewolf. He was a knight of the Round Table for King Arthur, who a witch had turned into a werewolf. Now, we know that Dave Filoni loves wolves. His in-universe name is Trapper Wolf, right? And Run is saying that he thinks that that they're pulling from the book Dark Alliances, where the light side and the dark side, the Sith and the Jedi, have to work together in order to save the galaxy from a bigger, badder threat. And the short answer is, I think that that's probably where they're pulling from. I don't want to get political here, but I will a little bit. We know that Disney is running into some things, some struggles, some issues. Right. Regardless of where you stand on that, right, and regardless of where you stay with the content, is they've got some issues on their hands. And one of the things that I think I would love to see them pulling from older content, because they have so much potential. And I think if anyone is going to do that, it's going to be, yes, they're on the struggle bus right now. They're driving the struggle bus over the cliff. It's on fire, and
Disney not being a company if they continue going the way they are.
I think
that could be a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother video, but like the reason I both like and worry about what this theory represents is what will happen if another company takes over, right? And just like you said earlier, like I don't think at this point they could go back and do a multiverse, and I think that's what a huge part of the fandom wants. Maybe not really huge, but at least part of the fandom wants. I know enough people who were saying that that's what they would like, but I don't think they're going to. Based off of everything that we're seeing here, there's no need to, right? What they're doing is they're providing context. It's context that 7, 8, and 9 should have provided on its own, but I think Dave Filoni is trying to fix 7, 8, and 9, right?
That's what I'm trying to say. I think he's like trying to show them, like, hey, I'm the man for the job. I'll fix all this. You know, I think he's trying to like keep his job, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I know that they're firing a lot of big time people in Lucasfilm themselves. You know, we can all say what we think about Kathleen Kennedy, like what we think is going on. I'm pretty sure she's all but fired. Like, I don't think she's allowed to even. Like, she's legally in trouble.
Yeah.
So I don't. I think she's gonna get paid for the rest of her contract, and then that's the last we ever hear from her.
I think so too.
What they're gonna. It's Filoni's way of saying, "Hey, I'm going to show you that it's in good hands."
Yeah.
Maybe like he takes her place. I see him being the one to take her place.
Yeah.
If anyone does,
I
just can't kind of think of a resume in a way.
Yeah. I actually would love to see Jon Favreau take her place, but you know, but
I love them both equally. I think either one of them. Well.
Yeah, and so Run points out is that Thrawn would lead an eternal empire instead of, wasn't it Revan that led the eternal empire? I want to say the eternal empire was the Star Wars Knights or Star Wars The Old Republic video game storyline, but I don't remember. So Run, let me know if that's right. But back to the show here, we've got this I don't know, these moments where they're fighting, they finally get the ship running again, and they make it into atmosphere, and that's when we see the Purrgil. And like it was cool. Like seeing
it was an awesome
yeah.
That was Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first really Star Wars things I've seen, maybe since the prequels. Like that really stuck out to me for sure.
Yeah, like it was giant space monster, right? Now I do love that this is the land where the Purrgil roam. Like this is the place where they, go. Now here's it.
Look how free roaming they are.
Yeah, they're just like
all up in a circle.
Right? They're all over the galaxy just hanging out, or they're all over the planet. But one of the things that's interesting to me here is, like, I've been thinking about this recently. It's like, I don't see a ship for that hyperdrive ring, right? I don't see, like, with the hyperdrive ring, you have, like, in the past, like, we saw this in episode 2, where Kenobi goes to Kamino, right? And he's got his own hyperdrive ring, right? And he detaches from the ring. And so up until now, I'm like, okay, what is going on, right? Is this ship, is this ring going to be a thing, right? What ship are they going to use? What if they like lasso a Purrgil, right? And they put a Purrgil into one of those things, and it's like, whoosh, and that's how they...
Did they mention that idea in the show?
I don't know.
Maybe it was something I was watching. Maybe it was just a video I was watching about it. But some people say that, why would you need the engines and all that stuff then? I wouldn't need it because Virgil's, and I remember them talking about like the engines in particular. So I agree with you. That's what I thought they were going to do because it looked big enough to go like around the one, which actually would be a cooler idea than building a.
It really would.
Maybe they still will do that, but I feel like they debunked that. Like I feel like I was thinking it, and then they debunked it in the episode, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, right on. But it was really cool to see this back and forth, and to see them go on kind of like avoiding their pursuit by hiding within the Purrgil. I really liked that. I thought that was fun. But one last thing. So I gotta wrap up here in a second, but we have a few things. One, Marmaduke. We heard him speak. Who do you put your money on is Marok? Is this a brand new character? Is this Starkiller 2.0? Who?
And I told you we're going to do like a check-in with who's Marok every week. Now, I've been listening to a little bit more YouTubers talk about it. You know how some people claim they have leaks and everything.
Sure.
I mean, what I'm hearing now is it's Kanan, Barriss, or it's nobody. It's a redid animation that Morgan Elsbeth has turned from the dead, and it pretty much has Inquisitor armor.
All right.
Which I think makes quite a bit of sense. But what do you think?
So I like that concept. Let me take it one step further. If you're bringing a character back from the dead, if you're bringing someone who was Force sensitive back to life, who is a Night Brother, right? Why not bring Maul back? Now,
and maybe bring a live action. Well, whatever happened to Savage? What happened
right?
to him?
I think he got cut in half, but that doesn't mean anything. So Savage was actually murdered by Palpatine as Sidious. So in that final one of the final episodes of Clone Wars, there's this awesome battle scene between Maul, Savage, and Palpatine, or as Sidious, obviously, on Mandalore, and Sidious just destroys the two brothers. And one he's killed. Savage is killed. Now he died off screen, so who knows? But very possible. Very possible. Now, I still think that it could be Starkiller, but if this is Starkiller, it is not Force Unleashed Starkiller. Galen Merrick is the name of the character from Starkiller, the video game. This could be a clone of him, but this is not going to be, I'm going to bring down a Star Cruiser with the Force, powerful Galen Merrick. He might be powerful, or she might be powerful, we don't know, but it is very possible that this character is I think, potentially nobody. Just a Inquisitor who made it, you know?
And see, I never once thought it was anyone special until I started seeing the theories.
Yeah, same.
It never crossed my mind that it was someone important. I just thought it was some unknown Inquisitor that we hadn't heard about. You know? Yeah. I'm sure. And so the supposed leaks from Den of Nerds, which sometimes he makes me mad because he like build my mind up.
Yeah.
And it's never.
It's not even close sometimes. Yeah.
He got me excited, and it's like, oh, well, you are the reason I'm let down. But supposedly he's all trust the source. He said it's some kind of like spirit that's filled in, you know, like a reanimated spirit, night thing, and that he will die in the next episode. He's just made to die. I guess. I don't know. We'll
so that's not necessarily unheard of. There is a character in the High Republic who is gaseous. They don't have a body. They just have gas. And that's what, right? That's it's what like described. Yeah, if you just farted enough and then like ignited it, that would be the character, and then gave it force powers.
Imagine if you weren't force sensitive, but your farts were.
Oh man, that would be awesome. My farts would be, they'd be the dark side for sure. Well, anyways, final thoughts on the episode. What do you think? How would you rate it on a 5-point scale of Ahsoka's or just Jedi standing out in space?
I thought it was all great. I think it was all great. It's just that one thing stood out to me. I think it's an 8. I don't want to give it too much credit because it's still a lot of talking. You know, there was some awesome stuff. I would say an 8.
Yeah, I'm 7.5 and 8 right there. Just for argument's sake, I'm going to say 7.5, and that'll put us at 7.75 on an average. Yeah. Just for kicks and giggles. Again, I will say that this is the most Star Wars thing we've seen in a long time. It's maybe not the best thing that we've seen, but it is definitely, in my opinion, the most Star Wars thing that we've seen. I'm enjoying it. I am. And I think this is definitely one of those shows that will be great on rewatch. As far as once the whole series or whole season is complete, going back and watching it as like a movie would be great. But as far as independent episodes, they're fun, they're entertaining. I haven't been too pulled out. I've enjoyed them. I really have. So with that, Bones, what do you have going on this week?
Not much, man. I've been spending my life dedicated to Starfield. Do you know anything about Starfield?
I don't.
Oh man, it's Bethesda who made Fallout, Skyrim. It's their new IP, and it's space. It's Skyrim in space, Fallout in space. 1,000 just planets you can. It's can go on forever, and it's coming out tomorrow.
Nice.
Early access, so it's pretty awesome, man. If you like video games, it's definitely
check it out.
Anyone's alley.
All right.
And then Slugga. you know, I'll always be doing Swugga. I don't see me quitting anytime soon. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Part of my life.
Yep. Every day, I gotta tap the vein of Swugga. They've got me.
Conquest and Rotes going on. Right
I know. So, this week, as long as GAC is this week, I will be playing again. Saturday morning, I'll catch me and we'll just be swugging and goofing off, and then next time Monday, I am working on a video. Maybe I have an idea for a video. It's been maybe over a year since I've done like a legitimate video, and so I have an idea. So I'm pretty excited about it. I just need to put it together, do some thinking, some brainstorming. That muscle is atrophied, so I've got to do some work. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This has been Bones and myself. I really love chatting about Star Wars and this kind of stuff. Check out the links in the section.
No one wants to talk with us. It's just me and you left.
Right. Anyways, have a great week, guys. I hope you had a good Labor Day. This has been Thaddeus and Bones saying smile and stay nerdy. I've got to figure out where the button